as we just mentioned, if you're Chinese and you want a Tesla and you're in China, you got to dig up another about $20,000. Tesla's Chinese website has hiked its prices for its electric vehicles, which are super hot there, by 20% over the weekend. Right now, it doesn't hurt the stock. The stock is up 2.25%, but the Model S had been priced at $107,300 last week. Now costs you $128,400. So let's go over to Ford, the other major U.S. auto manufacturer that exports vehicles to China. Ford is now saying, for the moment, it has no plans to hike prices on its China imports, but General Motors doesn't have to because it's had the Buick plant on the ground in China for more than a decade. So they don't have to worry about importing GM cars to China. But this trade war with China is really just one of many worries the auto industry has right now. The North American Auto Association, that represents auto and part manufacturers from the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, calling for a renewed focus on NAFTA talks before the new Mexican president takes office on December 1st. They fear a further divide on trade after he takes office. He is very left-wing and very angry about what the president is doing here in the United States. So what does this all mean for U.S. auto workers in the auto industry here? We bring in Congressman Dan Kildee. He's a Democrat from Michigan who not only has constituents that work in that industry, but Michigan's the second most diverse agricultural state in a trade war that is targeting our whole country's farm industry. What do you think of the tariffs that went into effect over the weekend? Because in the past, Democrats have called for tariffs that would protect the U.S. worker.
Yeah, I think this is one of those circumstances where the president is not fundamentally wrong on the central question of China's production of cheap steel and dumping that steel into the market. But the reaction has been to not just penalize China and affect the whole supply chain, which many American workers would be willing to accept given Chinese behavior, but to also punish our trading partners in Canada, in Europe. I represent the state of Michigan, $24 billion of trade between the state of Michigan and Canada. Much of that as a result of the integrated auto supply chain. So the effect of the way the president is going at this actually could be more negative than positive. But I think it's important to point out, we need to do something about China. I would prefer the president take a multilateral approach, work with the partners that he's now punishing to actually deal with the most egregious behavior, and that's coming from the Chinese.
I want to hear what the Michigan auto workers on the assembly line are telling you. So would they be okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, if President Trump just hammered China, really went laser focused there, instead of taking this multi-pronged approach? And even though we do have some unfair tariffs slapped on our cars that we export to other nations like the European Union, would they be okay with stomaching that and just going after China? What are they telling you?
Well, first of all, I think they're confused by all of this. I think many of those folks who supported the president supported him because he said he was going to shake things up. The problem is he's shaking things up, but not for those folks that voted for him, that expected him to stand up and, quote, bring the jobs back.
I mean, shaking it up enough that he might not get their vote in a couple of years? I mean, do you see any response in that regard?
If the effect is what it could be to weaken our exports, many of these companies are dependent on global trade. Many of the small manufacturers that I represent.
Give me an example.
Well, like small tool and die shops that I represent up and down the US 23 corridor. These companies not only sell into the U.S. domestic auto production, but sell into the global markets. Their ability to maintain their profit margin could be negatively affected by these tariffs. So the president has to, I think, be much more focused and actually understand that we do have long-term allies. We ought not treat them the same way that we treat, for example, the Chinese. We ought not treat the Canadians, for example, the same way we treat China, which has manipulated its currency, manipulated its exchange rate in order to advantage its exports.
They don't.
The Canadians don't behave in that way. We ought to see them as an ally, not as an enemy.
Our closest
They're our
ally.
cousins.
Exactly. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Supreme Court justice. It is, of course, the Senate, not the House, that approves of these and puts together what they decide upon. But the atmosphere. I was flying Delta yesterday, and I was reading in the Delta magazine, and they had Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Orrin Hatch, a right and a left, talking about the things that are most concerning to them. And it's sort of the tone in Washington, D.C. has gotten so incredibly nasty. Do you have Republican friends across the aisle? Yeah,
it does surprise people. I have good friends that are not only across the aisle, but across the political spectrum to the far right. There are two variables. One is what our ideology is. The other is how willing we are actually to use the democratic process to resolve our differences. That second part is what's missing. It's great to see you, Congressman. Thank you. Congressman Kildee, and thanks for sticking up for the folks in Michigan. Thank you. We hope to have you again. You bet. We appreciate it.